start in Olkiluoto.
30 countries currently operate nuclear power plants. More than 24 others are looking at nuclear power to meet their energy and climate needs. The United Arab Emirates and Belarus are close to operating their first nuclear power plants. And Bangladesh and Turkey recently started construction.
We believe that nuclear energy is an indispensable option for Turkey because it is emission-free, environmental friendly, sustainable and reliable electricity source.
Currently, 450 nuclear power reactors operate worldwide. But to respond to emerging needs and challenges, the nuclear power industry is looking ahead towards innovative solutions for the long-term operation of existing reactors, the timely expansion of ongoing nuclear power programs, and the deployment of new reactor technologies. Several countries are developing small modular reactors. One has already been built in Russia.
If this new smaller technology proves to be successful, then nuclear power can become more affordable and even more flexible to be integrated with renewables in so-called hybrid energy systems.
In the western United States, amid reminders of our nuclear past, more than 30 towns and cities are looking to the future. They want to go carbon-free, and they're betting on small modular reactors to get there. I've come from the IAEA's Office of Public Information to find out more.
Our residents here in Lehigh, and I think along the Wasatch Front, are more environmentally conscious than they ever have been. The days are gone where we rely solely on coal, we rely solely on natural gas. They're gone.
The community-owned utilities are increasing energy efficiency and expanding use of renewables.
Our coal's been working really hard, 95% capacity factor type product. As it goes away, we need to replace it with a similar 95% capacity product that's emission-free. And that's what nuclear gives us.
Nuclear energy can back up those renewables, ensuring round-the-clock clean power even when there's no sunshine or wind. Still, investing in a new nuclear technology has not been an easy decision. Cost is a key concern.
We believe that the technology, with the help from the Department of Energy, will bring this in at $55 a megawatt hour, all-in costs onto the grid. We think that's very competitive with combined cycle natural gas, and we're about 1/3 the cost of typical lithium salt battery storage.
Recently, the community utilities agreed to proceed with the project, taking it off the drawing board and closer to commercial reality.
The big issue for nuclear is to demonstrate that we can actually build them, that we can build them on time.
The small modular reactors will be built at the Idaho National Laboratory. Besides generating power for the communities, the plant will also be used for research on other applications, like seawater desalination.
Hello? Can you hear? Yeah, okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start our event momentarily. Please be seated. Yes, yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the agency event on net zero, the youth perspective on today and the future. Today's event is the second event of the 3 events organized by IAEA in this shared pavilion. It's going to focus on the youth opinions and how youth can be empowered for this net zero transition process. Today, the event will consist of 3 parts. We have a short opening session and followed by 2 panel discussions. So today we have great honor to have our Director General, Rafael Grossi, and His Excellency Nadim Zahavi, UK Secretary of State for Education, join us. And also we have Ms. Lina Androilo, President of International Youth Nuclear Congress, join this opening session. Without further ado, I give the floor to our Director General, Rafael Grossi, for his opening remarks.
Well, thank you very much, Wei. It's great to see you. Mr. Minister, it's a pleasure to meet with you. You know, during the long COVID lockdowns, we were frequently in touch through screen, but it's good to see you in person now, and all of you, by the way. I cannot think of a better way to close the week, the first week of the COP, than by talking about the future and talking about the next generation, because at the risk of stating the obvious, frankly speaking, this is about you. This whole thing, the whole problem that we have in our hands, and the need to do something concrete and serious and decisive about this is because if we don't do it, your generation, your children, if you decide to have them, are going to be living in a more difficult, much more difficult, maybe even unlivable world. So I think it is with a great sense of responsibility that it is up to us, Nadine, our generation of civil servants, national and international as well, to provide the necessary venues for the discussion that will hopefully be informing the right decisions also here at COP26, and we are joined by some young leaders, and you are going to be hearing from them in a short while. So I don't want to extend myself too much and give you the host the opportunity to share your thoughts, your views, what you're doing. I was talking to the Permanent Secretary. I know that you have very interesting programs going on. Your vision is something that we would really like to learn from.
Thank you very much, Rafael, and thank you for this invitation and for your wonderful introduction. Rafael and I go back some way, and his leadership of the IAEA is truly inspirational and exemplary. On the opening of this first week of COP26, the Prime Minister, the UN Secretary General, and His Royal Highness Prince Charles, and of course as well as the great man, Sir David Attenborough, and most importantly, the youth representatives from across the world laid down their challenge. Our planet is in crisis. To me, as Secretary of State for Education in the United Kingdom, education and skills are crucial for the world to meet this challenge. The human resource is the most valuable resource. They are also absolutely at the forefront of what we as a government are ambitious about, to build back greener as we chart the course for the future economy. It is only by investing in our most important asset, the young people of the world, that we will ensure that people up and down the United Kingdom and across the world have the right skills, really, to drive the net zero transition and thrive in the jobs it will create. In the United Kingdom, more than 80% of the workforce of 2030 is already in work today. 80%. And we're therefore focusing heavily that our new lifetime skills guarantee for adults
includes a focus on green skills. Because if you're already in work, it means you need to upskill or reskill, really to take advantage of the green economy. We're taking crucial steps to scale up those key skills and training programs so that we really help people have the confidence that that transition from carbon-intensive roles, for example, into jobs which will power green sectors can be delivered. But we must also, I think, ensure that young people who are still laying the foundations of their future careers can develop the knowledge, skills and expertise they will need to flourish. So whether that's in the construction sector, retrofitting houses, or in the manufacturing of electric vehicles, or indeed as part of our brilliant nuclear energy industry, which is a critical step to wean us off our dependency on carbon. Around the world, we know that schools and colleges will play an important part in equipping young people with the knowledge in STEM subjects and help to grow the pipeline of skilled workers that will be needed to deliver that net zero transition. Now, from primary schools upwards, what we're doing is supporting high quality teaching in STEM subjects by creating world-class teacher development systems that builds from initial teacher training through to early career support, specialization and onto school leadership. You can't have a great education without having a great teacher in the first place. And we're working with industry through programs such as Tomorrow's Engineer Code to showcase the diversity of roles and people that make up the STEM sector, encouraging more young people from different backgrounds to choose a STEM career. We're continuing to roll out T-levels that support careers in STEM and green sectors. Now I hear you ask, what are T-levels? They are the fusion of an A-level with an apprenticeship, providing high quality technical qualifications, and I hope one day we'll be as famous as A-levels. We are working with employers and training providers to develop and deliver apprenticeships which reflect the needs of the green economy. A new Green Apprenticeship Advisory Panel is working with employers to align apprenticeship programs to net zero objectives and really identify the opportunities to create new employer-led standards for emerging green occupations. And I have to say, the nuclear industry has been exemplary in their ability to invest in those standards and those apprenticeships. Now, to support the skills needed for the nuclear industry, there are already a range of those apprenticeship standards available, from GCSE equivalent right up to degree equivalent. The standards are really helping employers in the sector to grow the next generation of nuclear technicians, nuclear engineers, nuclear scientists, absolutely crucial to keeping the 1.5 degree goal alive. I'm also very proud of our growing network of institutes of technology. We refer to them as IoTs, Institute of Technologies, across England, which are using state-of-the-art facilities to offer training in green skills. It includes the brilliant East London IoT, which offers training in green and zero carbon energy production, and the Greater Birmingham and Solihull IoT, which focuses on sustainable engineering. We're investing £120 million in the second wave of IoTs to be up and running by next year, making a real difference in people's future skills. I'm hugely supportive, Rafael, of other schemes as well, intended to improve the diversity, which I know is something that is very dear to your heart, of those sectors which will drive the transition to net zero, including the IAEA's Marie Curie Fellowship Program, which is doing great work in increasing the number of women going into the nuclear industry. I am committed in that the United Kingdom will lead the way in equipping young people for their future. And I want to work with other nations to make sure we are sharing our learning and working together to support the next generations as we come together for our planet, whether it is the new SMR technology with the brilliant team at Rolls-Royce, or AMRs, or ultimately fusion, which we have some fantastic technology in the United Kingdom. Nuclear is very much part of our future in this country and our delivery of net zero. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to me. It's always a pleasure to see you. And you brought the sun out in Glasgow.
Thank you very much, Nadine. I think, well, I'm really in awe listening to these programs that you have, because we all know, and it's typical when we get into management of big institutions in the technology sphere, the challenges that we have in terms of STEM and integrating especially new generations. And so all these programs, these institutions, the T levels, that sounds good. The T levels that hopefully, like you say, are going to be common talk in the future are essential in this regard. I believe that when one looks at nuclear and how things are evolving, it is important that we show the new generations that nuclear is an area where there is a bright future, where there are well-paid jobs, interesting opportunities. Reactors are being built all over the world. New reactors are in the pipeline. And there is a lot of activity that is offering a wonderful opportunity, something that is often overlooked in the climate discussions is that nuclear, apart from being a solution to the problem of global warming, is one of the most interesting in terms of job creation, in terms of the quality or educated job opportunities that is offering. And we don't not, and I don't like to have a beauty contest sort of approach, because frankly, what this is all about is, solving this horrendous problem we have of a world that is warming at amazing speed. But one cannot deny that. And in particular, you and people in government are preoccupied with, the rebuild of our economies on a sound basis. And this needs young people, enthusiastic, with good jobs, raising families and bringing, the much-needed recovery that we all need. You were very generously referring to one of the things that we are trying to do from the IAEA. Of course, we are just an international organization, but we are a catalyst, and we can be a catalyst. We are the hub, the international hub for everything nuclear, ranging from nuclear energy to the applications of nuclear medicine, science, or water management, ocean acidification, all of these areas. And in so doing, we have seen also the added problem of the diversity of the workforce and of the community in general. This is why we came up with this idea of creating, not a very original one, but quite an effective one, of creating a fellowship, a fellowship that would be giving opportunities to young, in this case, young women, girls, all over the world that do not have the wonderful opportunities that you may have. We're talking about fusion now, and here we have two experts on what is going to be the energy of the future, fusion, and not so long distant in the future. But there are many others around the world that do not have this privilege of living in the United Kingdom, having all these wonderful opportunities. So we created this fellowship that, again, not very original on my part, but very, just to recognize somebody like Marie Sklodowska-Curie, who, was winning Nobel Prizes at a time when women could not vote, could not own property, and perhaps could not sit at the same table with the men. So I think that was a wonderful example of what one should celebrate when creating a program like that. And I believe that we have a very short, 1 minute sort of video that will show you with the faces of our first batch of more than 100 already, Marie Skłodowska-Curie Fellows. If you can punch it, so you can see it. Normally, it never works when you say it on TV, at least, and you know they stay like, but it does. They are the fellows. Huh? Through this program, we hope to give as many women around the world possibilities to complete their studies in nuclear science and technologies. So that was that, and I should thank you also because the United Kingdom has supported Marie Skłodowska-Curie fellowships. You should do more, perhaps, if you can.
We'll always try.
You know, I know you will. Anyway, no, thank you very much, Nadine. It's been fantastic. No, and the other thing, unfortunately, I don't have a little video to show you, but we have also established an internship on climate change. So scientists interested in following climate change specialties can also join us for that. So, so that was that, and here I would like to turn to you, to Lena Andriolo, who is not only already working in the sector for EDF, if I'm not mistaken, a company that has a leg in the continent, and another here, and for very interesting projects that are ongoing. But you are here on a different capacity, I believe. You're not here to talk about EDF. EDF has enough people talking about themselves. So you're here to talk about the International Youth Nuclear Conference, which you lead. And we have been partnering with them. They represent people from all over the world, but I think it would be more logical that you tell us about that than myself. So, Lena.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today, and I would like to thank the IAEA and you, Director General, for inviting IONC to give some opening remarks to this session. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with IONC, the International Youth Nuclear Congress, we are a global network of young nuclear professionals that supports knowledge transfer between generations and across international boundaries, that promotes the peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology, and also communicates the benefits of nuclear power as part of a low-carbon energy mix. Now, our network currently extends across 46 countries, where we work with our national representatives and existing young generation networks, such as the UK Young Generation Network, who led the organization of our participation at COP26 this year. Now, a net zero world goes hand in hand with a sustainable one. And to reach this objective, we need all low-carbon energy sources, including nuclear, to achieve decarbonized grids that are also inexpensive and reliable to promote economic development and growth. Ensuring that generations to come have access to reliable and affordable energy has become more evident during the ongoing pandemic. And electricity is key to preventing diseases and fighting pandemics as it powers healthcare clinics and provides access to clean water supplies. Now, during today's sessions, we will discuss the important role of the young generation and the role it has in achieving a sustainable future, and specifically how the voice of youth empowers the fight against climate change. The young generation is driven by social action, and as such, they tend to put their heart and soul into the causes that matters to them. And climate change is one of these causes. And it's not surprising that many of the young nuclear professionals who joined the nuclear workforce in the past decades have done so as a result of the positive impact nuclear science and technology has in mitigating climate change. In fact, until 5 years ago, IAEA, which has largely focused on knowledge transfer, adapted our platform to include climate change. And as a result, our climate change team has held events at the UNFCCC's Conference of Youth. We participated in and supported the goals of the Clean Energy Ministerial through co-sponsoring and organizing webinars and in-person meetings. And we have also actively participated in COP, together with Nuclear for Climate, and are also now a recognized UNFCCC observer. Now, it's really inspiring to see the level of energy with which youth engages on nuclear power, renewable energies, and climate change. The youth of today will be responsible for managing the worst effects of global warming, which is why engagement with youth in the development of solutions to climate change is vital. Therefore, we must continue to invest in and engage with with youth populations, as tackling climate change will require their engagement and innovation across international borders and energy systems. Now, given that the nuclear industry is global, it relies on diverse expertises that make international cooperation key for workforce development. And in this context, I'm very pleased to share with you that IAEA and the IAEA have just renewed moments ago their practical arrangement, which will allow us to pursue our joint work in outreach initiatives related to climate change, innovation, and knowledge transfer in nuclear technologies. And it ensures that youth is equipped with the skills that will enable them to tackle the challenges of today and of tomorrow, and that their voices is being heard in major events like the one today. And I would like to reiterate my sincerest thanks to the IAEA for your strong support in this matter. And I think that without further ado, I would like to kick off our panel discussions today.
Thank you very much. And I guess, Mr. Minister, you have to run to your next appointment. I want to thank you again for having spent some time with us. It was a pleasure to see you again. And until the next time, which I'm sure will be not before too long. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We are going to have a very short cleaning and transition for the rest panelists join us. Thank you.
let's move on with the panel, since you are patiently waiting, and there are so many other things in the day, and we have the panelists here already, and I would like to briefly introduce them today. First, we have Zan Northcott here on my left. You are the coordinator of the Generation Global Education Program at the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. And you're a member of YOUNGO, which is a constituency to the UNFCCC, and you are serving also as a program coordinator for the 16th UN Climate Change Conference of the Youth, which is the official youth precursor summit to the COP itself. So we'll be hearing from you in a second. Lena, I introduced before, so she is with EDF, and she's also the president of IYNC. Then Sarah Lynn here to my right. You are a consultant at you are working at, as I read here, Abbott Risk Consulting, which specializes in nuclear safety. Is that so? Yeah. And you are currently the vice chair and international liaison for the UK's Nuclear Institute Young Generation Network, and you are the incoming YGN for the next year. That's correct. Perfect. And Alexander, how are you? Alexander Commission from the Russian Federation. You are the lead project manager responsible for international partnerships and initiatives with Rosatom Corporate Academy.
Correct.
Correct. Chairperson of the BRICS Youth Energy Agency, chair of the Young Energy Professionals of the World Energy Council's Russian member committee. So I think with you we will have a very diverse also spectrum of opinions, and maybe I would like to start with you from left to right, Zan, with some views that you might like to share with us, and then we move on to the rest of your colleagues here in the panel. The floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Director General and panel. It's really great to be here with all of you. And yeah, I think really I was invited here today to try and give some perspective on the global youth views on nuclear and the role that nuclear can play. And yeah, so me and my team, we just organized the 16th Conference of Youth. Our major output from that was the creation of our YOUNGO Global Youth Statement. 40,000 young people from around the world contributed to that, and it's really a landmark, incredibly holistic representation of the youth views on all issues related to climate change. And I have to be honest, in this statement, there wasn't a huge amount of reference to nuclear. And so yeah, maybe I can talk a bit about why I think that is. And I think it's yeah, really, I think it has to be noted that young people, even today, still grow up in our minds where the first thing when you think about nuclear is Chernobyl disaster and bombs. There was an amazing new TV show about Chernobyl, which was very good, but it probably hasn't done much help for you. And of course, the association with nuclear weapons as well is so prominent in the news. And so I think for young people, there's a hesitancy to trust the nuclear industry. And the other question that often comes up when you talk with young people about this is that, well, we already have solar power, we already have wind power, so why is there still a role for nuclear? And so really I think where the problem lies is a lack of awareness and knowledge about how nuclear energy works and the role it can play in the modern world. For me, it was really just reading Steven Pinker's book, Enlightenment Now, and the sections he has on nuclear in there very quickly made me realize there's a lot more to this issue than you typically see in the media. And I think for a lot of young people, if they talk to anyone who has good knowledge of nuclear, they can very quickly go from a point of nuclear is bad, that's it, to actually being very open-minded about it. And so really, yeah, I think I would call upon all in the nuclear industry to really focus on awareness and education on the benefits that nuclear can have if it's to really take hold with young people. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's very appropriate that you had the Honourable Secretary for Education here today, because I really think education could be what really pivots this issue for young people. And because I think a lot of us just don't know the facts around nuclear, the output of energy it can have, its consistent delivery, its minimal land use compared to even some renewable technologies, how safety standards have improved. I think still a lot of people picture, when they think of nuclear, they think of Homer Simpson, you know, in his nuclear lab with absolute minimal safety standards and all of the Cold War era. I think it needs to be made clear that things have moved on. And so, yeah, I think climate education, I think, really needs to be embedded in curricula all around the world. And I think the nuclear industry should push for nuclear to be included in that education. And because I do think for young people, what could really spark interest is the role of nuclear in the transition. Because from our global use statement just now, what above all stands out is that climate change is already devastating young people in many countries. And really young people feel that our future and any hope for us is at stake. There's a sense of urgency, real urgency, that we need to shift to net zero now. And I think if it can be made clear that nuclear can play a role in that, then you will win the trust of young people. If you add to that the amazing job creation opportunities that you were talking about just now, that could even further that impact. And so, yeah, I think young people could be an incredible asset to the nuclear energy industry. But it is going to require some strong effort and education in order to win them over and their trust. So yeah, some opening thoughts from me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Those were very interesting remarks about the stereotypes that we must all face in nuclear in general, and which are so prevalent in younger generations. So I think this is a perfect segue for you, Lena, to tell us how you see a strategy for you in IYNC and others to go about this, knowing that it might perhaps take time, but what are the concrete things that we can do to tackle that?
Yeah, so I think they evolve around 3 big points. First is how do you attract the young people to the nuclear field? How do you develop talents? And how do you retain them in the nuclear field? So on the first point on how do you attract young people into the nuclear field, I think that first, as was mentioned also by Shan, you need to understand the young generation. So there has been a lot of changes in the workplace recently with more and more startup environment. There has also been a lot of young people questioning the purpose of their daily work. And actually the companies and organizations really need to constantly adapt to this change of workplace that the young generation brings with it. So concrete examples on how to do that, for example, and how we try to address that in IYNC is through a new project that we have been launching, which is called the World Young Generation and Nuclear Thermometer. The idea of which is really to understand what are the thoughts of the young generation when it comes to nuclear. What motivates them to join the field, what refrains them, and through these findings, having really data that will help the industry implement the right policies to attract and really react to those needs of the young generation. The second point on how to attract young people, I think, is communication. Communication is really key, and I think that the nuclear sector has not been doing so well in the past about communicating that nuclear is a low-carbon energy source, that it is key to the holistic energy solution that are needed if we want to tackle climate change, but also how it can bring real changes in people's life for the better, because it can produce affordable, reliable, and accessible energy to the people that needs it. What is also true is that we have seen a shift in the way we are communicating, especially thanks to the young generation. I think the perfect example is the communication that is going on right now at COP26, also thanks to the UK YGN. So really reaching out to the public, reaching across the aisle, and really using what is specific to youth to have, I would say, bold conversations and really unbiased conversations. So once you have understand and communicated about the nuclear field and you manage to raise interest in youth to join the field, the question is how do you develop and retain them? So I think that what is very important for young people in general is professional development, of course, the opportunities that you have in a sector that you are integrating. And this is very important in the nuclear field because we will need a lot of young people to have highly trained skills that will allow us to have the necessary innovation that you need to have new advanced systems coming to the market and that will be able to be flexible enough to work together with renewables. So, of course, every industry, every organization has its own way of managing its talents and on developing its talents. So, where I would like to focus here a little bit is how the young generation networks can actually support this development. What the opportunities are that are given by these young generation networks. I'm talking here about technical training. I'm talking about leadership skills development, networking opportunities. When you join young generation networks, you will have responsibilities that you would not have otherwise so early in your regular job. You will be leading multicultural teams. You will be working on immensely great projects, such as, for me, for example, the organization of an international conference, the next one being in Sochi next year, IAEA 2022. So it's really a great learning process. You meet a lot of people, high-level people, CEOs of companies, director generals, that you would not have met otherwise in your career. Of course, the young generation networks could not live without the supports of the companies, the supports of organizations such as the IAEA, and strong partners like for IAEA also Thomas Thor Associates. So where I would like really to stress is really the opportunities that young generation networks brings, and for companies to really consider encouraging young people to join those networks, because this will really help them to grow professionally, to be connected well, so that when they come into positions where they can have an impact, they are already well known in the field and very well connected.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting, connecting and joining the networks. And one network that is very visible in the corridors and elsewhere is yours. So when you see the impact and the way in which people notice what Net Zero Needs Nuclear campaign is getting, one can really see the usefulness of this creativity being applied to passing the message. So why don't you, Saralyn, explain to us what is, I mean, the work that you're doing in general in the UK, not only what is happening during this week, and what are the opportunities you see in future, also perhaps some of the challenges that you're facing.
Thank you, and thank you to the IAEA for having me today. I'm very excited to be here. So the Young Generation Network is the young members branch of the Nuclear Institute, which is the professional membership body and learned society for the UK nuclear sector. And the YGN, our mission is to encourage and develop those young nuclear professionals and ensure that their voice is heard in shaping the future of our sector. So this year has been quite the year for us. We partnered with Nuclear for Climate to coordinate nuclear representation at COP26 and run a series of pre-COP activities. And the backbone of that has been our Net Zero Needs Nuclear campaign, an international campaign. And the aim of that campaign is to raise awareness of nuclear as a low-carbon energy source and a key part of our journey to net zero, and influence policymakers in their decision-making, imploring them to take a technology-neutral approach to energy policy and financing. And just one example of that today is this massive giant gummy bear that you have behind you. So an analogy for you is an uranium fuel pellet is approximately the same size as a gummy bear. So this 3-meter high gummy bear, if that was an uranium fuel pellet, that would produce enough energy to power all of Glasgow's electricity for 16 months. And that is just one way that we're trying to communicate the benefits of nuclear to everyone here at COP. In terms of next year and evolving the Net Zero Needs Nuclear campaign, it's been a very busy year. If I'm completely honest, I think we need to take a little bit of a rest, recharge a little bit. It's been incredibly busy coordinating 70 volunteers here over the next 2 weeks. But next year for me, collaboration is key and communication. So building on your point earlier, Lena, the nuclear industry has a completely awful reputation for speaking to itself. And we are really trying to push back past that at the moment by engaging with those beyond our network and really breaking that nuclear bubble. So an example of what I would love to see this year, next year, is as well as continuing our advocacy activities, our normal events programs, we put on a number of events for our members, and they are absolutely jam-packed full of nuclear speakers. And I would be very keen to just mix it up a little bit. So for instance, we every year we run a series of introductory seminars for young people joining the industry on various topics such as waste management, decommissioning, power generation, regulation, many different topics. And all nuclear speakers, let's do something different. Let's get speakers to come in to talk about waste management of wind. Let's get people to come in to talk about decommissioning of solar panels. Not only is it an opportunity for them to learn more about the nuclear industry, those speakers, but it's an opportunity for us to learn from each other. Because we need it all to get to net zero. We need to work together to fight climate change. And by only doing that, can we ensure a clean, happy, and abundant future for our generation and the next?
Well, that's very inspiring. Thank you very much, really. And this, this passion that these words contain are very important because we have to believe in what we do, and you do, and it's the right way to convince others. We cannot convince anybody about something we are not convinced ourselves, and we do not feel really ourselves. And I see that in all of you there is this conviction, and it fills me with a lot of hope. And like you rightly say, the conversation must be circular. It's not about putting the limelight, and we must welcome it and never escape from it. We must be accountable for our industry and all we do, but so does others. So I particularly like that idea. So you take a well-deserved rest, but not too much. Because, I like to say at the IAEA that we do not stop for a single minute, and my staff are going to start saying that, they can also perhaps enjoy a short vacation.
We'll take a weekend off.
That's good. That sounds good. So, Alexander Commission from Russia, you, of course, working in the Academy of Rosatom, which is very important. It's a leading company. We work a lot, as you may know, with them. And for me, it would be very interesting to know your perspective. How are you guys organizing yourselves in this area? Do you feel the same kind of constraints that your colleagues here are feeling, and in general, your views about this?
Thank you, Director General, and it is a pleasure to be participating in this panel, and of course, why the United Kingdom Young Energy Professionals taking some rest. I guess Russia will be leading the action welcoming IAEA Congress 2022. So yes, we do share the same values and constraints, just like the young energy professionals around the globe in the next nuclear sector. I'd say that I'd rather build my message today around few topics like trust, partnership, and the impact. So let me start with the trust. Yes, of course, it has a lot of connection with communicating the values of the new generation around the nuclear sector, about the nuclear as the solution for the climate change. I would like to congratulate young nuclear energy professionals and IAEA especially, because when I was walking around the COP26 talking with people, thanks to the ones in blue t-shirts for making it happen, that people are at least confused about the role of nuclear, and the others are pretty positive. So this is, I believe, a huge contribution of young people at this certain very important venue this year. So by doing this, by explaining people why nuclear is important, providing statistics, and really starting really from the blank page that nuclear is the solution for the climate change is important. And it is, of course, solution not only for climate change, but for a variety of areas. And I believe that young people are already there, and the Russian nuclear energy professionals, young nuclear energy professionals, are sharing this value. So regarding the partnership, yes, representing such a company like Rosatom, especially its educational division, Corporate Academy. So under such a brilliant leadership like we have here present with me, it is almost impossible not to drive the action, especially in Russia, where we have almost like many educational programs with almost 18 universities representing all over Russia, and we also have different programs with more than, I guess, from 6 to 8 other countries, influencing many young nuclear energy professionals around the world, and educating them, of course, about the nuclear sector. So, and in this regard, the partnership can be, of course, in terms of education, academia partnership. So, and young people who are passionate about the nuclear sector, of course, have to get the educational courses and to get those just educational courses with the right vision of nuclear sector. And I believe that we all share it. The other thing about the partnership I would like to concern is that there should be a partnership, of course, between young people as a huge multi-stakeholder group. There are so many different young people, and of course, companies and corporations. On one hand, there is the future, young people. On the other hand, there is certain resources to make this future happen. And of course, this has to be run together with the international force like International Atomic Energy Agency. And only this, when we're talking about working together with international organizations, companies, and youth as a major stakeholder group, it's going to be possible to create the third thing I was aiming to talk about, the impact. So why young people are protesting around the COP26 venue? Why are they saying that their voices are not heard? Is that probably because they do not have the toolkit to deliver their agenda sometimes. Yes, we have UN-mandated groups within UNMJSY, Yango, for example, very wonderful. And we have many other groups that are speaking about renewables, sometimes a little bit less about nuclear. So, and what Russian young nuclear energy professionals believe in, and I believe that other colleagues of mine too from other countries, that young people have to have a great impact toolkit opportunity so that companies become this source of innovation for the future, becoming a partner for young people in their delivering new projects and sustainably transforming the world. And this is what we are also believe at Rosatom Corporate Academy and also as a Russian youth community of nuclear energy professionals. So it has a lot to do, of course, with communication. And when young people get this toolkit, of course, the communication will be different because nuclear might be supporting the really sustainable transformation of the future. So I would like to finish on that. We are having a really interesting event today, too, on nuclear. And we are actually considering whether there is a need of mechanism for engagement. We are having few ideas. We'll be happy to deliver it to you afterwards. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alexander, for having shared with us these ideas. Obviously, looking forward to the events in Russia.
The Russian pavilion here.
The Russian pavilion as well. Very good. What time is your event?
It's 3 p.m.
Sorry?
It's 3 p.m. today
okay.
and next week too.
Okay.
So we have plenty.
Good. If I could have the mic. Yes. Thank you very much. Perfect. So we are going to be there listening to these ideas that you were mentioning, and it's so interesting to see the perspective that you are bringing. So I think we had a nice spectrum of views here, and what I like in particular is that we are talking about examples, concrete examples of how to do this, because it's about that. It's not about enunciating principles, because the principles we know is how to be more effective, how to be more effective, how to pass the message, how to include people, and how to make sure that the message is heard. So I would like to thank you, all four of you, for what you are doing in particular, and the in general, Abab and beyond the panel today. And so to conclude, we are going to be doing something that I really enjoy and look forward to do. You know that the IAEA, we instituted for this year a IAEA Net Zero Challenge, which was basically an invitation that we extended all over the world, to come with concrete ideas on how to integrate nuclear in a view, with a perspective of course, clean energy, decarbonization, and if possible, with an original, I would say, approach. The response we had was very, very, very encouraging. I understand, Wei, that we got more than 70 collaborations from all over the world. And of course, unfortunately, there could be but one winner. And the winner we have here today with us, and we would like to invite her. I would like to invite you to come. She is Claire Lee. She's a 20-year-old student from Singapore, and I understand that you are currently studying law at the London School of Economics. So, Claire, please. Very good. So Claire, I'm very happy to give you this certificate. It says here, so that you can have an idea, this is to certify that clearly, this is you, has been declared the winner of the IAEA Net Zero Challenge, a competition of policy recommendations for the transition to low carbon energy systems for the project, and I hope you will tell us a little bit about that so we understand. Nuclear produced hydrogen, something which is discussed these days, for the decarbonization of the maritime industry. So here's to you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. So maybe if you want to take the mic, I will sit here, all right? And then you can explain to us what was your project about.
Thank you, Director General. So I'm Claire from Singapore, and I was the winner of the IAEA Net Zero Challenge. So my policy was for the proposal of nuclear-produced hydrogen for the refueling of commercial ships, because the maritime industry is a major contributor to climate change, and shipping is predicted to account for 17% of the total annual carbon dioxide emissions by 2050. And coming from an island country in Singapore, the maritime industry is very important to our economic growth. And I wanted to propose a policy that could make sure that we could continue on our growth trajectory while still not having the impacts, negative impacts of climate change. So our overview of a policy is on the screen above. And we basically adopted a carrot and stick approach to our policy with the use of hydrogen-powered vessels in the maritime industry. We decided to use nuclear energy because it's a reliable, mature, and low-carbon energy source, which can potentially produce enough hydrogen power that is needed for the massive maritime industry. So first, we decided to establish strategic partnerships with countries in the region producing nuclear power-produced hydrogen. So Singapore is well positioned as a country with strong bilateral ties in many countries over the world. Especially in Asian countries, there's currently a lot of research and development activity into hydrogen production by nuclear, which, as Director General mentioned, has been discussed a lot here today. So this also involves supporting the import of hydrogen as a second tier with the creation of necessary infrastructure to support hydrogen refueling, but also with the relevant safety and enforcement regulations, which I think are very important to make sure that this is used as a safe technology. Third would involve a subsidy scheme to provide incentives for ships to operate on hydrogen, funded by an increase in excise duty on imported traditional bunker fuels, as well as the refueling prices. So ultimately, I think my policy was just one of the many submitted to the IAEA, which shows the possibility for countries even as small as Singapore to make a bigger impact on the fight against climate change to protect our planet. So I am very thankful for the recognition that I got from the IAEA and hope to continue to be part of this discourse surrounding clean energy. Yep, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Stay, because we are microphone, please. Thank you very much, and congratulations. What we appreciated in particular about this very good project is this ability to really bring it home, to look at a solution and to adapt it to a very peculiar reality of an island state that is at the same time a very important global maritime hub. So with a real impact in terms of energy consumption and other related problems, and apply a solution here. I think it's a good inspiration. It's a good idea of how to deal with these problems and to use nuclear in this combination. So congratulations and best of luck in the continuations of your studies at the LSE and later on in life. So, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this event. I hope you found the last hour, 10 minutes, worthy of your time and your patience. And we see each other, we see you around. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
thank you for your recognition of her efforts.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm not surprised. Knowing the Singaporean creativity and ingeniousness. Hello. No.
Another one. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have the next session focus on the fusion topic. So please remain seated. We are going to have a short break and a cleaning. Thank you. We are going to start very, very soon.
How can we fight climate change if we don't know where greenhouse gases are really coming from? Governments around the world are making serious commitments to reduce their national emissions. But to do that effectively, decision makers need to know the exact amounts and origins of the different gases being released in their region. A cutting-edge scientific technique is now giving governments and industries this data. Scientists are using something called stable isotopes to fingerprint each gas present in a sample of air and trace its source. This allows the authorities to target their climate policies to the biggest polluters and not miss any problem areas. Such indisputable data reveals the reality of emission sources and helps authorities build local support for focused climate action. The International Atomic Energy Agency is working with the World Meteorological Organization to help countries perform these measurements and generate the data needed. The IAEA and the WMO are setting up regional centers to analyze the data received and teach scientists how to apply this technique in their home countries. Because the air in each country will tell a different story, and we can't solve a problem that we don't understand.
Testing. Hello? Hello? Are we testing? Good? Can you hear me? Hello, hi everybody. We're about to start the second panel discussion of the event. If you could all make your way to your seats, please. Grab a headset on the way, and we'll be starting momentarily. Thank you very much. There's two virtual, three virtual who are going to go in. Who else? She would.
For a while to support this fusion event, okay? If you have no other commitments. Okay. Me? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Now we start our second session. This session will especially focus on fusion. This is a very interesting topic. We will have quite a number of panelists join us, some in person, some virtually. So I will give the floor to Craig to give some introduction.
Thank you, Wei. Could we just put on the slide, the background slide? Yep, fantastic. So thank you. So I think we have a fascinating discussion ahead of us here today. So we've got some very talented experts here in the room to my left and right, and also joining us internationally through streaming. So I think we're going to learn a lot about what's going on in the world of fusion. We've focused a little bit on fission this morning and the role of youth in net zero on fission so far. But now we're going to focus on how young people can be involved and where the industry is heading. I'd like to first ask my colleague from Vienna, from the IAEA, Nicole, to help give us an overall view of fusion energy. What are some of the merits and the challenges? for this technology, and what is the International Atomic Energy Agency's role? So Nicole, over to you in Vienna.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here today to give you this opening presentation on fusion. So we will do share the presentation. Okay, can you see the presentation? Okay, good. So next slide, please. Providing energy from nuclear fusion is widely regarded as one of the engineering challenges of the 21st century. Unlike fission, where the atom is split to produce energy, in fusion, two lighter atomic nuclei are merged to form a heavier nucleus. Fusion is the energy source of the sun and the stars. Fusing atoms together in a controlled way release nearly 4 million times more energy than a chemical reaction such as the burning of coal, oil, or gas, and 4 times as much as nuclear fission reaction at equal mass. Fusion has the potential to provide the kind of baseload energy needed to provide electricity to our cities and our industries. Next slide, please. Fusion is carbon-free, zero gas emissions, virtually clean. Unlike fission, it produces low-level manageable waste, and it is inherently safe. There is no chain reaction in fusion. It has unlimited fuel, and it is reliable. Next slide, please. ITER, the way in Latin, is the largest experimental fusion machine built on Earth. As a consequence of international effort, ITER is designed to test systems and elements needed in a fusion machine. Demo, commonly referred to as demonstrators, concentrate on the engineering aspects of fusion, in particular to demonstrate the electricity generation. Demo will go beyond. ITER, the support facilities, Demo, and the new private enterprises are working in parallel in the same direction towards the same final product, the fusion power plant. And several challenges are being addressed to be able to build the fusion power plant. Next slide. Market conditions are becoming attractive for fusion. Climate emergency is very high in public consciousness, and it is the basis of the market pool. Technical elements are being targeted, as I showed before. As a natural consequence, private investors are being interested on that because they understand that fusion is not a dream any longer. It is becoming a reality. Today, large number of startups all around the world are investing on fusion. Public and private monies are coming to fusion today. Next slide. As a consequence of this, you can see all the institutions working on the progress on fusion, private and public, all around the world. The IAEA Fusion Device Information System contains information on fusion devices, public or private, with experimental and demonstration designs, which are currently in operation, under construction, or being planned, as well as technical data of these devices and country statistics, including research statistics from the Fusion Energy Conference series. Next slide. The IAEA is working on fostering and promoting international collaboration, coordinating activities on plasma, physics, and technology, producing guidelines and best practice, facilitating information exchange, capacity building, and training activities. Next slide. But what are the challenges and needs for young generation? The challenges are the risk of generational gap, transfer of knowledge, gender equity. Concerning the needs, the science and technology of fusion is a field of excellence, with the need of mentors and guidance to succeed. Increasing educational training is a need for the next generation of young professionals. Next slide. The Russian physicist Lev Artsimovich once said, "Fusion will be ready when society needs it." And this is true. And we need it now. Society needs it now. To address climate change, many countries are aiming for large-scale decarbonization by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2050. Fusion is developing fast and needs to be ready to fight against climate change. Next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. That was a very comprehensive introduction to help set up the rest of this discussion today. And really interesting to hear just about the wide range of fission products all around the globe that are going on. So first, I'd like to introduce our esteemed speakers. So joining us virtually is Nitendra Sai, who's a nuclear engineer specialized in nuclear safety and design for fission and fusion reactors. He's currently working at ITER for test blanket safety systems. And then we also have joining us virtually Dr. Ting Long, who is a young scientist in the field of magnetic fusion research from the Southwestern Institute of Physics in China, working for the on the Center for Fusion Science. In the room with me, we have to my left Shanaz Hoke, who is a British PhD student at the University of Oxford, researching radiation damage to steels for nuclear fusion reactors. And then to my right, we have Dr. Anika Khan, who is a research fellow in nuclear fusion at the University of Manchester, who's specializing in materials and engineering for nuclear fusion applications. She's also the lead Dalton Nuclear Institute champion and the co-lead of Fusion Center for Doctoral Training Activities at Manchester University. So before we pick the brains of our speakers in the room, I'd like to go direct to France, to Nitendra. So I think we've just heard that fusion is developing quickly right now, and it's starting to become a reality. What changes have we seen in recent years, and what's coming next in fusion?
Hello, Craig. Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you for the question. I think the most recent changes we are seeing in this decade, and I would like to mention the decade because 10 years back, two major events happened in nuclear industry. One was the construction began of the first fusion reactor at ITER. And since then, there are many plans, and it brought out 35 nations together to make this reactor come live and serve the most viable requirement to fight the climate change and give the sustainable and low carbon energy to the society. Along with these lines, there were many nations who came together. All the researchers, scientists came out to solve the problems together. And this was one of the positive change you see when we talk about nuclear, because before that, we were always being distinct because of the proliferation issue. There were some strategic issues coming into the picture. But when fusion came, everyone wanted to come together to share the knowledge and make it happen as soon as possible. And fusion is not new. It's not something which came in a few years or something like that. It began as the beginning of a nuclear era in early 1950s. But because of its complexity and the technical issues associated with it, and you can imagine, we are trying to create a mini sun on the Earth. So there are always challenges associated with it. So all of this led to the researchers and scientists and people come together and solve the issues. This is one of the major change I see. And this not only changed the existing perspective of nuclear industry, which is already part of the solution in fighting climate change, because it is one of the low carbon sustainable energy source for the baseload power supply, which is one of the biggest, almost 60% of the baseload power supply is still coming from the fossils, So if we can decarbonize it, you can imagine what it will be one of the biggest contribution from nuclear to the actions against climate change. So this is one of the biggest change, and this changed the perspective from just being one solution to give you immediate actions, to give you near-term deployable actions which are possible through nuclear, and the long-term solutions. So I perceive the nuclear industry in these three manners now. We have small modular reactors which are near-term deployable, which erase so many issues we earlier associated with the nuclear, and fusion being a very long-term sustainable energy source available we have. And ITER will soon be demonstrating the capability of generating the electricity out of fusion energy. So that's one of the major changes I would like to highlight here, Craig. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natindra, for sharing your insight there. I mean, I'm sure you're very well versed. You're in a prime position to understand what's going on in the world of fusion at ITER. So next, we'd like to turn to our next speaker, our next virtual speaker. So Ting Long, who's joining us from China. So obviously, China are one of the major players in the fusion sector right now. Could you tell us a little bit more about how China see fusion energy and how it fits into their energy system of the future?
Thank you very much, Craig. Hello, everyone. I am Ting Long. It's a great honor for me to join this nice event organized by IAEA. Regarding how China views fusion energy in the energy system, I think China attaches great importance to the huge potential of fusion energy in the energy system and has given great support to fusion science and technology research. We could get this point from the recent achievements in fusion energy research and innovation in China. First, China's newly built advanced tokamak, the HL2M tokamak, achieved its first plasma last year. It has advanced and flexible plasma shape and diverter configuration, and is very suitable for studying the advanced operation scenarios. The second is this year, the East tokamak achieved a repeatable 120 million degree plasma for 100 seconds and a 160 million degree plasma for 20 seconds, once again setting a new world record for the tokamak experimental operation. And the third is that besides the task and work for ITER, China also proposes the CFETR as a fusion engineering test reactor in future, which is currently in the stage of preliminary conceptual design. We know that it is proposed that China's carbon dioxide emissions should reach a peak by 2030 and strive to achieve net zero by 2060. Although the role of fusion energy in China's net zero plan might be limited in recent years, but we believe that it will become more and more important in the long term.
Thank you very much, Ting Long. It's great to hear the view from China and the progress and the challenges that they're overcoming to help drive this very clean, sustainable, and necessary technology forward. So I'd like to turn our attention now to the panelists in the room. First, I'd like to speak to Shaz. So I know you've been around COP, and this is your first COP and my first COP as well. I know you've been here for a few days now. And I know that you met that we've all been meeting some very passionate young climate activists around COP. And I know that a couple of events I was at over the last few days, a few of them were bringing up concerns about advanced nuclear is perhaps too far away, that there's still a lot of technical challenges to overcome, and that maybe we would be better suited focusing our resources and attention to furthering development in renewables. So it'd be really interesting just to get your thoughts on that.
So yeah, I actually did speak to some of these activists, and I think they were Friends of the Earth from Germany, and I don't know. We had a conversation about how we could work together towards trying to achieve our shared goal of net zero, and I just don't think that is achievable without using all the tools that we have available to us, and so we shouldn't be thinking of taking funding away from one particular technology like renewables or nuclear and giving it to the other one. So I think it's important to be looking at a holistic solution to this problem that we all have, but also in terms of the timeline, thinking of renewables for the short and medium and long term. We should be still looking into our post net zero for 2050 ambitions, and that will of course include advanced nuclear technologies and hopefully fusion. So we should get that ball rolling. Yeah.
So you're saying so it's not a competition of sorts between technologies, that we're all in the same climate boat, so to speak, and we all need to kind of be rowing in the same direction, working together, because it's going to take a lot to help solve this climate crisis. And so I just want to bring our attention back to COP26. So for those who are joining us virtually, and it's been brought up earlier today, there's lots of blue shirts around with the YGN networks from across the world and industry who are doing a fantastic job of engaging with the attendees here at COP. So one thing that did stand out to me is just the community feel and the community factor of nuclear, and just all this enthusiasm that we're seeing around. Could you give us a little bit about your experience of what you've seen in the last few days from all of the global nuclear industry here at COP?
Yeah, so the YGN, which is the Nuclear Institute's Young Generation Network, they've teamed up with, I believe it's about 150 other NGOs across the world to come and, perform sort of activism activities across COP here. I believe it's the only activism-based stand that I've seen at COP, with the others being country delegations. So it's really exciting to see just young people who are passionate about their field coming here to communicate all of these interesting ideas and get people involved and get people talking about nuclear as a solution towards climate change at this critical time. But it's been fantastic.
Great, thank you. I really wish everyone virtually would be able to see the giant blow-up gummy bear with nuclear paws that is just sitting beside us to the edge of the stage. Thank you very much. I'd like to now turn to our second in-person speaker, so Anika. So there's a range of projects going on around the world in fusion that we've heard, of different sizes and scale and scope. Could you tell us a little bit about the different approaches that we're seeing, from the small private companies to the huge international government-backed collaborations?
So as we saw in our first slides at the beginning, there's these massive kind of projects going on, such as ITER, the demo project, which are huge international collaborations, all working together on magnetically confined fusion. But also there's smaller kind of individual countries working on the same thing, as well as now, over the last few years, we've kind of seen an influx of public-private partnerships. So the Spark reactor in America with MIT, for example, Commonwealth Fusion Systems. And there's loads of new companies. We've got General Fusion in Canada, Tokamak Energy in the UK. The UK has the STEP program. So there's a really diverse kind of range of companies and approaches going on. And we need to be kind of backing all of them.
Fantastic. And I think, so as you're mentioning, there's a lot more companies starting to get involved, a lot more private, kind of private opportunities to get involved in the industry. Could you tell us a little bit about maybe what kind of skills and how young people can get involved? Because obviously, traditionally, fusion has been a very science-focused sector to work in, but now that's changing. Is there anything a little you could provide on that?
So we're definitely seeing a transition from being purely research-focused, purely science-focused. It's becoming a lot more applied. So we need scientists, we do need engineers to build the reactors and things like that. But as we move forward and we want realization of commercial fusion technology, we need people working on the regulation side of things to develop the right regulations for the industry. People in communications is so important so that the public are aware of what is fusion, because there's a real lacking of public understanding at the moment of the technology. So there's a wide variety of skills that we need.
Great. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot more. There's a lot of options to get involved through, growing interest from governments, from private sector, from project managers to communication specialists. All of these are going to be required to help the industry grow and get where it's heading.
Absolutely, it's vital.
Fantastic. I'd just like to pick your brain a little bit more on the synergies between the different nuclear energy technologies. So what is it that you think maybe that fusion energy could learn from its sister in nuclear fission?
So there's definitely similarities in terms of the extreme environments, so extreme temperatures, the interactions with neutrons and stuff. So from a materials and engineering side, there's definitely a lot of calls for collaboration. On the fuel side, currently we're getting our tritium from CANDU reactors in Canada. So we're directly using kind of byproducts of the fission industry in fusion. So there's a lot of technical collaboration that's really important, but also, again, on the regulation side, we need to collaborate on that. Communications, we've seen the fantastic work of YGN here. We need to learn from them and work together as well to have effective outreach that spans fission and fusion, showing that we need to work together.
Okay, great, fantastic. Thank you for the insight. So I'd just like to ask here in the audience if there's any questions you'd like to put to one of our panelists. Yes, sorry, hello?
Before we talk about nuclear, new nuclear,
yes.
all of us are concerned about, are we happy that we have an international regime that is maintaining the safety of existing nuclear installations, particularly as they're aging? A lot of nuclear plants are around 50 years old. And I did a paper about 20 years ago on seismic risk of nuclear installations. And then, of course, we had Fukushima. Has anybody been researching, like, when we say the issues for fission are different in terms of installation and risk? But who among you has been looking at the regime for existing sites, and particularly those sites that are now going to be decommissioned? Like in Germany, there's excellent program where you have not just the legacy of the waste, but a site that has to be protected, like the most secure military installation with fencing and monitoring for perpetuity, because it's not just the waste, it's the actual buildings and infrastructure have to be effectively ring-fenced and kept protected indefinitely. So when we have that burden, what concern do you have about adding to that burden for future generations?
So, hello. Thank you for the question. I know we didn't get a microphone to you at the start of that. Can I just try and summarize the question before I answer? So your concern is around the current nuclear fission fleet and issues associated with waste and with decommissioning. So, I mean, as we know, this is a fusion energy event. So the quick answer is that obviously the International Atomic Energy Agency is there to set guidelines and standards and to work with countries to ensure that all of this, the whole of the industry is highly regulated and operates very safely. So that is what the agency does, and we work very closely with our partners to do that. Thank you. If you'd like to speak more about this, we could perhaps at a networking session at the end take this offline. But for now, is there any additional questions on nuclear fusion energy in the room? Yes, hello, our speaker at the front. Microphone will be there in 1 second.
So this is a question for both of you. So first to you, Annika. So you know there are many other startups working on fusion, and ITER is lagging a bit behind compared to these startups. That's what I heard. Do you see any future for one of, or do you have like one of your favorite startup in fusion who you think will probably be the one that is most advanced in their project?
Thank you for your question. I think similar to what Shaz was talking about before, about, is there a competition between renewables and nuclear? No, we need renewables and nuclear, and it's the same within fusion, within all the other ones. I think we need to back them all. we don't know which one's going to get there first. And until one of them does, we still need to keep backing them all. And that doesn't mean others won't work or they might take a bit longer. But it's really important that we really put our efforts into any kind of possibility to see what will work. I mean, climate emergency is dire, and we need to be trying everything that we can.
Okay, thank you very much. And a question for you, Shanaz. In the same way, you know that within the fission industry, nuclear fission industry, there is also like some people would like to have thorium, some people would like to have uranium. So I suppose you agree with Hanika that any startup that's working on any advanced reactor or any SMR model should also go ahead, and we should see which one is the most advanced in their way. Do you agree with what Annika said? Do you feel the same way for the...
Yes, I think for both fission and fusion advanced reactors, we should just be supporting all of the possible solutions that are being put forward. Maybe it's a good time to also mention that it's not as far away as people think. I get the question all the time, is fusion still 30 years away? I can't exactly answer that because I can't predict the future, but we are in a really, really vibrant ecosystem at the moment for these advanced nuclear technologies, both fission and fusion. And I think it's just exciting to see where all of the different kind of options are heading. And yeah, it's just an amazing ecosystem at the moment. So yeah, we should just continue supporting them all, getting the word out there.
And this last question is this new taxonomy in Europe, whereby green energy, nuclear would be considered as a green energy, and you would think that investors will start flocking in because of this?
I hope so. I know a lot of people have been putting a lot of work into that, and that is the hope, yeah.
And they already are, right? Fusion's had huge investments recently, both in the UK and internationally. There's been a lot of investment in fusion companies.
So this taxonomy can even further
just help us to make the argument a lot clearer, I think, if we've got the larger EU on our side,
Thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you very much for the audience in the room for their questions. So we're about to have a networking event just after this panel finishes up. So I'd just like to present the opportunity for our two panelists in the room to give any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience in the room or virtually.
So I'd just like to reiterate the message of education. We've heard in both of our panels today how important it is to bring in the new generation into this industry. We need fresh talent. We need people from all over the world. We can't have the same old, nuclear has this perception of being a very kind of, exclusive club, and we need to change that. And, look at us today, me and Shaz, two brown women here, which is not a common sight in any panel. And this is just the start, and I hope that will continue to grow. And we need to educate our youth all over the world and give them the opportunity to be a part of this amazing project.
Yeah, I completely agree with Anika there. And just wanted to say that fusion, again, is not some kind of distant future fantasy. It's something that's happening now, and there's a lot of exciting things going on in that industry, and also in nuclear fission, just nuclear industry in general. So please, if you're interested at all, have a look online, see what's available, get involved in this industry, so you can really create an impact towards net zero, because there's a lot of work out there that needs to be done.
Great. Well, thank you very much to all of our speakers, both here in the room and joining internationally. I think you all bring a lot of passion and huge amounts of energy to fusion. Excuse the pun. And I think we have a lot to learn. So I think we've learned a lot today. So we learned that the future of nuclear fusion energy looks very bright. It's a clean, sustainable energy source with huge potential to play in the world's future energy systems around the world. That there's some exciting technological challenges to overcome, so it's vital that we continue to see this further investment in both technology and education, so we can build the right skills in young people, like those here today and listening in from our audience, so that we can get the job done. Because advanced nuclear technologies are just too important for the future of our climate. So thank you very much. I'd just like to hand the floor back over to our director, Wei Huang, to close up.
Thank you very much. Now we come to the end of this event of today. And in today, the previous first session, where you listened to this vivid, productive conversation between our DG and a group of young generation, and focus on talking about the views on the role of nuclear energy in the current world. And also in this session, a group of another bright talent to share their views on the vision on the future fusion technology beyond 2050. I thank you very much for their great contribution and share their views. And I think they deserve applause for their contribution to this event. Now we come to the end of this event. Thank you very much for your contribution and the participation. And I made it a very short promotion for tomorrow. In this same shared pavilion, we're going to have another topic organized. It's a third event of agency organized in COP26. It's going to focus on nuclear technology, how this technology can contribute beyond the nuclear power to other sector, nuclear application in various fields. So please join us on time. We'll be in the afternoon, 1 o'clock, 3:45. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to note, within this area, we'll have 30 minutes for networking if you want to discuss anything with any of the panelists here today. Also, we have some coffee and refreshments around the back, some good Scottish shortbread. Thank you very much.